About 25% of families with children under the age of 18 are being maintained by their mothers. We'll be talking about how the absence of the missing fathers affects their children and the mother of their children. Also in this program, Mercedes Narcisse will be talking about her campaign to win the election in September to be the state senator to represent residents of Canarsie, East New York, and parts of Starrett City and Brownsville. It's estimated that about 50% of children born in the United States will spend a significant part of their childhood in a home without their children. Children raised in single-parent families, usually without a father in the home, are more likely to do poorly in school, to become teenage parents, and have emotional and behavioral problems. In this program, we continue our series about young fathers. My guests are from the Department of Health, Dr. Torian Easterling, Assistant Commissioner and Director of the Brooklyn District Public Health Office, and Mr. Matthew Morales, who coordinates a male involvement initiative with the Brooklyn District Public Health Office. Welcome to Brooklyn 45.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Young fathers, old fathers too. But the problem of missing fathers seem to create all kinds of problems. Let's begin there. What is your concern in the Department of Health about these missing fathers?
Yeah. So we're the narrative and the focus for the Department of Health is not looking at just what's missing. We're looking at how do we engage men and fathers in the neighborhoods that we target our resources and our programs. We understand that in a public health approach that we know that there are a lot of different disparities and barriers that are impacting fathers and fatherhood and men of color. And those can be anywhere from housing and job economic opportunities, or looking at how many people in the community are going to jail. And so we know that these issues are impacting health outcomes. And so in our approach, we're looking at how we can engage fathers and men of color to make sure that they're not only in the home, but we're also making sure that they're present in resources like breastfeeding, making sure that they're available during pregnancy for their significant others. The approach for us is really how do we make sure that there is cohesion within the family structure.
How do you engage them?
Well, engaging the fathers really takes somewhat of a systematic approach. And what we try to do in the Brooklyn District Public Health Office is try to test the temperature of the community.
Of the community?
Of the community. That's really what makes us unique as far as our department or our bureau within the New York City Department of Health.
What do you mean by testing the temperature of the community?
Well, naturally, we certainly being a group that believes in equity. We would love to actually see how the community feels about a lot of the issues that we see in the community. How does the community engage that particular issue? Is it even an issue for the community? So what we want to do is actually sit down with community members, speak to them about what we're seeing, and seeing if it's a shared vision.
How do you get them involved? I know you said you sit down with them. How do you really get them engaged and involved?
Well, this is actually something that is not difficult to do. Luckily, we are in Brooklyn. We have some great community members who would love to be involved in really directing the atmosphere of their community, the programs that are coming into the community. So we work along with the community-based organizations that have a great following around what they're trying to accomplish. And we actually partner with them to reach the community and find out exactly how they feel about what we're working on.
So how does your organization, your department, function in these communities?
So we'll just take a step back and look at our agency. So the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, the mission of our agency is to promote and protect the city's health. And we do that in a number of different ways. We provide restaurant inspections, we do school health, we have community health surveys. But I'll say that one of our most important jobs is informing and mobilizing community members. We do that to make sure that community members are aware in regards to the community's health. And so we look at how we can, again, target our resources. Dating back to 2003, then Deputy Commissioner Mary T. Bassett, she's now Commissioner of this agency, she thought about making sure that we have resources in neighborhoods that were historically deprived of resources. For here in Brooklyn, that's North and Central Brooklyn. We target 4 neighborhoods: Bushwick, Brownsville, Bedford-Stuyvesant, and also East New York. And for us, we want to not only address the health disparities, but we also want to make sure that we are leveling the playing field and making sure that we provide health equity. How do we do that? And in 2014, Commissioner Bassett had established the Center for Health Equity. And the Center for Health Equity is to strengthen and amplify the department's mission. And so how do we really make sure that we are addressing health disparities and those inequities that exist in neighborhoods? And that's at investing in neighborhoods and making sure that we target our resources in these neighborhoods as well.
Let's talk about the fatherhood initiatives. And I know that's all involved in that.
Sure.
How do the fatherhood initiatives work?
These fatherhood initiatives work by us supporting dads. In turn, what we're hoping is that they can support their families. All right, so exactly what does a support for a father look like? It may not simply be a parent class. It might be something such as ensuring that he has access to some kind of economic development, right? Getting a job. It might be something simple as a mental health concern. A lot of the fathers that we work with in our communities experience a large amount of trauma in their lives. That could also be an issue or a challenge that separates them from their significant other. So we make sure we have programs, or any program that we offer or make accessible to a dad, we have that in place. So it's just simply making sure that we provide the pieces that allow a father to be independent, allow a father to take care of his family, especially as it relates to health. And we make sure that's provided. In the case where we may not have the service ourselves, we work through our partners to provide that.
What about child support services?
Luckily, we have a great partner in the Office of Child Support, which operates under HRA. We try to ensure that there is some type of relationship created between the father and this particular organization through our programs. The father is more likely to engage issues around child support. If they have a question, they know someone specifically that they could speak to. So it's really about creating a relationship that allows that father to feel more comfortable with accessing that service.
Do you find that some mothers are reluctant to ask for support services that the father would be engaged in?
Well, I don't think I completely understand your question.
There are some mothers who are a little reluctant to seek support services. They don't want to put the father on the line. They don't want the father to feel threatened.
Right. Okay. Well, in this regard, as it relates to our program, that's generally not a concern for us.
Okay.
So with that not being something that mothers generally, are very expressive about, with keeping dad in a safe place, so that we don't, shall we say, prosecute them in some way, shape, or form. Luckily, that is not.
But I'm not necessarily
hat.
talking about prosecuting them.
Right.
I'm talking about getting them to the table.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I'll just add from your question. Actually, we see quite the opposite. We actually see that mothers are actually wanting their fathers, wanting their significant others to be a part of this process. And so one of our programs, we employ community doulas. And in home visiting services, we have community doulas go out to the home, and they're actually engaging mothers. Quite often, there's a male in the house. And oftentimes that male may not feel as though that they're a part of that process when the doula is engaging the mother. They're talking about their postpartum process, they're talking about breastfeeding, and the father may not feel like they're part of that conversation. And it's often the mother's role that is very pivotal to really engage the father. And that's where our male engagement work and our father engagement work really comes in handy. And also the doula's role in that process. And the mother's also role is important in there too.
And you call that person who's intervening a doula?
A doula.
A doula.
A doula is oftentimes their advocate, the mother's advocate during pregnancy, before pregnancy, and postpartum. And so they're often using the doulas during the hospital, during their pregnancy, and they often rely on them afterwards.
And the fathers actually also found them very helpful as well,
Yes.
in alleviating a lot of their anxiety through the process.
Do you encourage marriage?
Do we encourage marriage? What we try to ensure with anyone who interacts with our programs is that they understand what the components are of a healthy relationship, and we feel if we concentrate on ensuring that people understand what are the what could actually bring about wellness, we think that's a safe place to start with our participant.
I've heard about this Healthy New York 2020. What is that?
And so it's Take Care New York 2020, or some people know it as TCNY 2020. And I actually have the booklet here, and I brought it here for you to peruse at a later time. But this is the agency's blueprint for the city's health. And how do we make sure that communities are healthy? That's number one. It's a goal that's twofold. The second goal is how do we make sure that neighborhoods that have worse health outcomes do better? So we want to see that the city is a more equitable place. And in doing that, our focus is to do two things. We look at traditional health factors, so that's diabetes, hypertension, stroke. How is a community district doing as it compared to other neighborhoods? But we also look at other social factors. And so how many people in the community are actually going to high school? How many people in the community are going to jail? These things, there are many drivers that are leading to health inequities. And we believe some of these social factors that we're highlighting and we're calling indicators are some of those drivers. And so what we're doing, and this is quite different, is a shift from previous Take Care New York that we've done in the past. So one, we're presenting data. That data is based on their community district. So a community district is now empowered to really know what's happening in their neighborhood. Two, we're having conversations, and those conversations are really to get the voices of the community. We're presenting you with the data, and you can now rank what health priorities are more important than others. And so the next step is then to really strategize on what approach do you think we as a health department in the community should take in tackling these priorities. And so we have ongoing community consultations. There are two that are remaining here in Brooklyn. One is at the Flatbush Library, which is 22 Linden Boulevard. We'll be there on January 21st from 6 to 8 p.m. And we're inviting community members to come out and rank their priorities. That will then allow us to use that information to say, what do we do in this neighborhood? And what are the strategies that we should employ in that neighborhood?
How do you get community members to know about these initiatives?
So, media forums just like this, being out here with you and talking about it. We are on social media, so we have a Facebook page that really focuses on Take Care New York. We have been at all of the community board meetings talking about Take Care New York 2020 and also about the community health profiles, which really highlight specific community district level data. And using these tools to really talk about and employ individuals to say, your voice really matters. And so we're going out and speaking to community boards, as I mentioned, but also asking community-based organizations to be a part of this process.
You talked about your manual here.
Yes.
And identifying areas in Brooklyn that are most in need.
Sure.
What are these areas that may be most in need?
One of the areas in Brooklyn that are
Yes.
most in need. So what we've already begun to see from the data, and this is why data is so important. We as an agency do a very great job at collecting and presenting information. And with the community health profiles, which I think are very valuable tools, and we are empowering community boards to use this information. We're seeing neighborhoods like Brownsville and East New York, Bedford-Stuyvesant, with some of the worst health outcomes. I mean, we have information that shows that Brownsville is has the worst ranking as far as the number of fatal, non-fatal assault injuries. So that's looking at violence, how we measure violence as a neighborhood hazard. We also see that Brownsville has the worst, highest percentage of children in elementary school who are not showing up at school. That's children missing 20 or more days and not sitting in their seat. And Brownsville is ranked number 1. Bedford-Stuyvesant is ranked number 4. And so when we look at these 4 neighborhoods, they are in the top 5 or top 10 in some of the worst health outcomes. And so that tells us that this is not just an individual behavior. This is not just looking at someone's genetics. We're talking about there are neighborhood conditions that are impacting health outcomes for people.
And back to your fatherhood initiative, the absence of a father, does that contribute to any of these, particularly educational performance issues that you spoke about?
Well, there's been numerous research that supports the fact that when a father is in a household, you do tend to see less behavior problems. You tend to see higher reading scores, a more emotionally settled young person. So there are certain positive attributes to dad being in the home.
Dr. Easterling, the Assistant Commissioner, I almost said Commissioner. I'm not predicting anything, but right now, you're Assistant Commissioner and Director of the Brooklyn Health Public Office.
Yes.
Thank you for being my guest here on Brooklyn 45. Mr. Matthew Morales, and you have responsibility for ensuring that our fathers become better fathers and stronger fathers.
I welcome it.
Thank you for being my guest on Brooklyn 45.
Thank you for having us.
Elections for Brooklyn's 19th senatorial district won't be until September. Mercedes Narcisse is one of the persons running for this state Senate seat vacated by John Sampson, and she is already knocking on doors throughout Canarsie, East New York, Starrett City, and Brownsville. Let me welcome Mercedes to Brooklyn 45.
Thank you, Sam.
The seat that you're running for, this was recently filled by a special election. Do you see this as a challenge for you?
Not quite, because you know why? The people in the community find is enough, and they are the one that really looking for me, calling me wherever I go, supermarket, wherever I go, walk on the street, they knock on my doors, they want me to do it. So I feel like the community is ready to elect their own folks. They tired of those kind of game.
What kind of game?
In a place where you never really have actual election, is always putting people in special election because it's a game. And the community finally said no.
Explain the special election for people who don't know about it.
A special election is where a party, Democratic Party, of course, we are in Brooklyn, have the right over that Democratic line. So you cannot just say, I'm a Democrat, I can run under that. So they have the right to hold it and give to whomever they call like a kind of a selection instead of election. So they can say, okay, I like you, you can do my job. In that case, that you can be silent, I just put you there. So that's how they cannot get away with it in the community. And by the time it's a real election come, then they will say, oh, that person been there for 3 months, is an incumbent. They did that. As a matter of fact, that's what just happened. They put somebody in for about 6 months in assembly, and then suddenly they want to put the person in the Senate because they realize if I'm coming, which they know I'm coming, so it would be better for them. They will say that person is an incumbent, keep that person there. But the community said, no, it's not going to happen again. No more.
What's the greatest need you see in the community that you want to represent?
Job opportunities. School is the biggest things for us because a lot of us have to bus our children out of the district to go to better school because we are hardworking folks, and when we see it's not going right, I recall back in the days when I was just started over there with my father. People used to try to use your address to bring kids in the area because it was a good school. But now people just want to go out. Like in my case, I have to force to send my kids so far away I have one in LaGuardia right now as we speak. My other son went to Bronx Science, going to Mark Twain, because you want to open doors, because we don't have, in the Caribbean, we came here for a dream, right? So when we come, it's education, because we don't have millions of dollars to live for our children. So education is a big thing for us, Caribbean folks especially. Everybody, but Caribbean, that's all you have. Actually, you don't have a business. Like in some cases, I've seen some of my friends that that benefit, have company to pass generation to generation. How many of us have big company that we can leave for our children? So it's education. Once you give your children education, you know for sure they're on the path success, you may call it, or a bigger dream. And that's what's going on in our community. And then we're talking about housing a big things now, we know. That's what's
Especially
going-
since you represent two disparate areas. You have Canarsie on the one hand, and you've got East New York on the other hand,
Bronzeville.
and Bronxville. How do you address these problems?
Each specific area it's not one size fit all. So you're gonna have to review the dynamic, what they're facing. Right now, gentrification, we call it, it's going on right now as we speak in East New York and Bronzeville. So you cannot tell people, like right now, low-cost housing, we know the truth about it. The mayor is doing an excellent job. Yes, he's fighting it, but then the only low cost for housing is public housing. And we don't have adequate, is inadequate. We need to address that. And the services that need to be provided in those housing, because to me, it's a path. And you have to you have to be fair to people. And if it's not taken care of, like it's not maintained, people kind of like, their dream kind of crashed. Their children getting up and seeing all those elevator break down, the water falling all over the place, which the mayor is doing a great job. But we need to really keep focus on that, because that's the only low-cost housing is public housing. And we need to really build more, do whatever it takes to protect our community.
Why is Mercedes Narcisse the best person to be the state senator?
Because I know the community and I have lots of experience to offer, and that's the reason the people are asking for me. It's not me pushing myself, actually, because I'm committed. As a registered nurse, I've been committed to what I do. I work in the emergency room for over 10 years at Elmhurst Hospital. I did visiting nurse services. Now I'm doing reentry program, which is a privilege for me. It's an opportunity to know exactly what's going on in my community. Right now, I'm seeing young folks that come out of jail that don't have, that's why I'm pushing a lot with public housing, because they come out, you tell them they have a second chance, but if they don't have a place to stay, they live in a shelter. Shelter is supposed to be a transitional thing, and then for you to actually, as a community, as government, to see how we really be fair to the process. Because a lot of children, I'm going to tell you, that goes to the system, they're 16, they come out like 20-something years old. They're trying to really do their best. I can tell you, because I'm the nurse that's listening to them, and they're trying hard. But if you don't have an opportunity, it's kind of revolving door. They're gonna go back to the same pattern, and is that what we want as society? They're causing the crime, and some of them have mental illness which need to be addressed, which I thank God for people opening their eyes. Shirley McCray, that's trying, the mayor's first lady, the first lady, the city first lady, and the mayor's wife, trying to do a lot about that. So because I'm seeing them myself, and I see the problem. And as God give me more opportunity, I open different businesses, so I'm able now to be consultant for different businesses, to keep people in business and as well as employ people. And employing folks mean the children are better, because my key focus is making sure the children, we build a better future, a better tomorrow for our children.
You said earlier that you were a nurse. Tell
Yes,
us a
I
bit
am.
about your background.
Oh, for me, it's always exciting since I was a kid. Being a nurse is taking care of my community. It's taking care, since I was a kid, I wanted to be either a doctor or a nurse. But coming to New York, I realized nursing was the thing for me. So I had a big chance. The minute I finished, I was able to work for Elmhurst Hospital in the ER. I work on oncology, which I had to go for Sloan Kettering. And I remember when HIV come out, everybody don't want to touch. Nurses are afraid. I fit the challenge, and I wanted to really help people that have it, because I always say to myself, how would I like to be treated? And I realized people were afraid of HIV clients, so I decided to be the first person to come out and take care for HIV patient. And after I did that, and I ended up in home care, visiting the clients at home and be able to teach them, and I become a nurse for wound care, special my specialty area. So trying to heal people's wounds. And I love it, and that's my passion.
You said earlier that people have been reaching out to you.
Yeah.
What have they been saying to you? One, about you, and two, about how you can best represent them.
If I may take a quote from one of the pastors last Sunday, he told me that, he was telling the congregation, one of the things that he loves about me, because I'm very passionate and I'm committed. And one thing for sure, I'm not going to say, yes, sir. If something is wrong for the community, he believes I have the voice. I'm the voice, and I will not be silent until I get the community what they deserve. And they deserve services right now. There is no service in the community.
Rumor is that you don't have the support of the Democratic Party.
Of course not, because I have a voice. I can speak. I will represent the community well, and that's the reason I have the community. I'm not focusing on Democratic Party. I'm a Democrat, and I'm gonna run on primary, which there is no option. I'm a Democrat. I'm gonna run.
You are a
and then my
Democrat.
people want
And
me to run.
there may be an individual in the Democratic Party that doesn't support you.
If it's one individual, because right now I don't want to say the Democratic Party won't support me, because I have a lot of supporters within the Democratic
Within the party, yes.
within the party. Actually, they realize what's going on, and they know that I've been there. At first, I'm going to tell you honestly, I was more interested in making the process decent and fair to the community. That's how I get involved. I'm more like an entrepreneur, business person. And when I realized what's going on, and I feel that this is not the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to represent folks, not lying to them, playing game. You're supposed to be fair to the process and make sure education, and not only passing legislation, but you have to be able to give people. Sometimes people just want their representative to come to the area and talk to them and give them guidance. You have to be able to do all that. And people knows me that I never tired of working. Once it's something good for the community, I'm there. I've been doing it without getting paid. It's been my passion, and I support a lot of people to get elected. Unfortunately, after people get elected, it gets to their head, and they think they're so powerful. But the beauty for me, power be to God. I believe in that. I don't have to worry about power. I just have to worry about doing a great job for my community.
Mercedes Narcisse getting ready to do a great job for her community. And that community is the 19th Senatorial District.
Which cover?
You tell me quickly. We
East
have a
New
couple of
York,
seconds. East New York,
Brownsville, Star City,
and
Canarsie,
Canarsie.
Flatlands, and it goes all the way to a little part of Sheepshead Bay, which is mostly covered by the city council, which I ran in 2013. I already have about 6,000 votes
Good.
within that district.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for being on Brooklyn 45.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Our Brooklyn 45 team would love to hear from you. Your comments about this program, any new topics that you'd like us to discuss, and any other suggestions you have. Send us an email at info@brooklyn45.com. That's info@brooklyn45.com, or send us a Facebook message at facebook.com/Brooklyn45TV. That's facebook.com/Brooklyn45TV. Please also visit our Facebook page and like us. This is Brooklyn 45, your information television program, and you are important to us.